Breaking news. At 04:19 UTC this morning, an automated alert from the Atacama Large Millimeter Array interrupted routine calibration scans. Moments later, a second confirmation arrived from Hawaii, then a third from the Canary Islands. An object that every orbital model declared gone, an interstellar visitor that should have already escaped the sun's gravity forever, was still there. Today, the impossible just happened. 3I Atlas did not exit the solar system. It stopped. Not slowed, not perturbed. It stopped. This changes everything we thought we knew about interstellar objects, gravity, and motion itself. If you want more real-time cosmic updates like this, stories unfolding at the edge of human understanding, hit like and subscribe now, because what you're about to hear is not speculation. It's a chronology of events that no known law of physics can fully explain. Before we examine what happened, it's critical to understand why this detection carries so much weight. This was not a fringe observation or a single anomalous data point. The initial signal came from ALMA in northern Chile, operating across multiple millimeter wave bands designed to detect faint, cold objects at extreme distances. Within minutes, NASA's Deep Space Network at Goldstone locked on to the same coordinates. 11 minutes later, the European Space Network station in Cebrero, Spain, confirmed a matching Doppler signature. 3 continents, independent instruments, identical results. At Harvard, archived simulations were reopened. At Caltech, orbital dynamicists halted ongoing work to rerun models they believed were already settled. The Hubble Space Telescope was placed into rapid response mode, followed shortly by the James Webb Space Telescope, which aligned its near-infrared spectrograph toward the coordinates. When JWST's first spectrum arrived, the room fell silent. 3I Atlas was not only present, its velocity relative to the Sun was measured at less than 0.3 kilometers per second, effectively stationary. To understand how unprecedented this is, we need to go back. 3 months ago, 3I Atlas entered our solar system on a hyperbolic trajectory, moving at approximately 57.8 kilometers per second. That speed alone confirmed its interstellar origin. No object born within the Sun's gravity well can achieve such velocity without external influence. Spectral analysis at the time showed a carbon-rich composition with traces of nickel and iron, unusual but not impossible for an interstellar body. Its trajectory was steeply inclined, over 70 degrees relative to the ecliptic plane, another hallmark of an extrasolar origin. 48 hours before its predicted exit point, everything appeared normal. Its brightness was fading as expected. Its coma was thinning. Outgassing rates were decreasing. Thermal readings showed surface temperatures dropping toward 180 Kelvin as it moved away from the Sun. All models agreed, within 72 hours, 3I Atlas would cross beyond 15 astronomical units and disappear into interstellar darkness. Then, 11 hours before that predicted exit, something subtle happened. A minor discrepancy appeared in the Doppler data from a radio telescope in South Africa. The shift was small, less than 0.02 kilometers per second, but consistent across multiple readings. At first, it was dismissed as instrumental noise. But when the same discrepancy appeared in data from Australia, analysts took notice. The object was decelerating. Deceleration alone would have been remarkable, but the rate was wrong. No gravitational interaction could account for it. There were no planets nearby, no dense solar wind streams, no outgassing jets powerful enough to generate that magnitude of braking force. And yet, over the next 6 hours, 3I Atlas slowed from 57.8 kilometers per second to just under 41. At 03:06 UTC, Hubble confirmed the change visually. At 03:47 UTC, JWST measured an unexpected thermal increase. The object's surface temperature rose to 390 Kelvin despite increasing distance from the Sun. Heat without friction. Energy without a source. 11 hours later, the object went silent. No optical reflection, no infrared signature, no radio echo. For nearly 8 hours, 3I Atlas vanished from every sensor. The official log recorded the event as loss of track, but internally, a different phrase began circulating: voluntary disappearance. When the object reappeared, it was closer. At 1422 UTC, Pan-STARRS detected a faint point of light where nothing should have been. Its position was inconsistent with any projected orbit. It had shifted inward by 0.17 astronomical units. That maneuver alone required an energy expenditure equivalent to several hundred megatons of TNT. There was no explosion, no debris, just a new position. And its shape had changed. Originally described as elongated, approximately 230 meters long and 35 meters wide, the new observations showed a compact, nearly spherical object with a radius of 90 meters. Comets do not become more symmetrical over time. Natural erosion produces chaos, not order. No natural process could produce such precise geometry under these conditions. At NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Dr. Marcus Hale, an expert in non-gravitational dynamics, ran over 1,000 simulations. None could reproduce the observed behavior. "Every model breaks," he said quietly. "Gravity fails, outgassing fails, radiation pressure fails." As scientists scrambled to explain the deceleration and reappearance, a second anomaly emerged. Radio telescopes operating in the 1.4 gigahertz range detected a repeating pulse. The interval was exact, 10.91 hours. The duration, 0.64 seconds. The frequency drift, 0. Natural astrophysical sources do not produce signals with that level of temporal precision. When analysts translated the intervals into numerical values, a pattern emerged. Prime numbers. 2 pulses, then 3, then 5, repeating. This was no longer random, it was structured. At this point, 2 competing explanations formed. The first was conservative, a rare but natural object composed of exotic materials, perhaps a fragment of a dense interstellar core, interacting with solar radiation in an unprecedented way. Some suggested a previously unknown plasma interaction or a transient quantum effect at macroscopic scales. These explanations stretched known physics but did not break it. The second explanation was discussed only in closed sessions. What if 3I Atlas was not passive? At ESA headquarters, encrypted communications intensified. At NASA, public briefings were delayed, data releases slowed. The object continued to decelerate. At 0211 UTC yesterday, its velocity dropped below 1 kilometer per second. At 0458 UTC, it reached 0.12. And then, at 0503 UTC, something extraordinary happened. The velocity reading stabilized at 0. Not relative to Earth, not relative to a moving frame, relative to the Sun. 3I Atlas had stopped. There is no mechanism in classical mechanics that allows an object to enter a gravitational well at hyperbolic speed and come to rest without catastrophic energy release. And yet, there it was, motionless, balanced against the Sun's gravity as if anchored. Then came the third wave of anomalies. Earth-orbiting satellites recorded brief magnetic disturbances, less than 1 nanotesla, but synchronized globally. Shortwave radio operators reported momentary blackouts. Migratory birds in the southern hemisphere deviated from established routes by hundreds of kilometers. Subtle effects, nothing dramatic, but consistent, as if the system was responding. At 1740 UTC, high-resolution imaging revealed that 3I Atlas was no longer a single object. It had divided into two components, separated by exactly 1.6 kilometers, maintaining perfect synchronization. No debris, no rotation, no explosion. Controlled separation. And then, without warning, one component vanished. Not drifted away, not dimmed. It disappeared from optical, infrared, radio, and gravitational sensors simultaneously. Space where it had been moments earlier was empty. This was no longer an anomaly. It was behavior. Inside control rooms, conversations stopped. I remember staring at the data feed, watching lines flattened where motion should have been. The realization spread slowly, then all at once. This object was not obeying our expectations because it was not required to. Now, in the aftermath, we're left with questions that extend beyond astrophysics. For centuries, we have believed the universe to be governed by predictable laws, and it is, until it isn't. Maybe what we're witnessing is not a threat, but a demonstration, a reminder that our understanding is provisional. Maybe we're not witnessing the end of certainty, but the beginning of context, an invitation to look outward not as masters of knowledge, but as students. As of this moment, 3I Atlas remains stationary within the inner solar system. Its pulses continue, its purpose remains unknown, and its silence is louder than any signal. The last data packet showed a pause, a stillness, almost as if it is waiting. So the question now is not whether it will leave. The question is, what happens when it moves again? Subscribe to follow the next update, because this story isn't over.